Just want to make sure that everybody is hearing the session. The back of school, we really try to go from the basics of email marketing, moving it to the anatomy of the email, how to build it, what do you need to think about it. And the third step is, of course, how to get it in the mailbox of the people. This is really, this session will be about focusing on that, trying to give you the big rules around it, also trying to explain how to optimize that. And going deeper in what we have learned on 20 years experience providing email marketing within the scope of marketing automation, of course. So for those that don't know me, but it's the third session, I think everybody knows it. I'm Jonathan. My job is being an evangelist in the company. So I really try to bring the engineers that are over there closer to you so that we can basically help you provide insightful customer journeys to your client. The idea is really to leverage the technology from one side and also the expertise we have built it, and trying to have that feedback loop back like we had for the webinar with our partner this week, Califio, for example. Really that sharing, caring movement, it's really something I'm trying to be in there. So feedback is a gift to me, provide it. You got my email address, LinkedIn, Twitter, just shoot. Okay, really very fast about the company for those that don't know it. We are a Belgium company. I think that's the first thing you should remember. So everything at around the 4 most spooky letters on the moment, and with Halloween, I think we can say GDPR. We are totally compliant with that. So we have built everything which is necessary to be good with the GDPR rules and everything. We are present today in Belgium, also in France, with an office in Paris, the Netherlands, and Canada. So you're seeing that we're getting bigger and bigger, but also we keep that mindset of providing the technology with the human aspect. That's why we are with 100 people already today and still growing. The mission of the company, like I said, is really to provide from one side the software, but also to provide the people that goes with the software. Basically, we help you becoming better with marketing automation by providing the right level of service depending on your maturity. As you are a starter, we can really help you with the basic stuff. If you go in the really top nutshell complex stuff, we also can help you. That's really the idea, by mixing the technology and the people to provide more value to you. Okay, that said, let's dive in what is important today. And basically, we want to talk about the deliverability, how we go with it, the setup, the best practices. This is really the idea. So in the agenda, I will try to highlight what is deliverability all about, how you can optimize it, of course. Let's be honest, there is no science behind it. So issues can happen. How do you need to handle those? That is really the third part of the session. Then we will share experience about how we go with it, and of course, how you can manage it based on, I hope, some insightful information I will be able to share with you. So the first thing you really need to understand is that deliverability has 2 axes in it. You have what we call the technical part of it, but you also get the functional part of it. If you take the slide, basically that is the brand and those are your readers. So there is a relation that needs to be built in that on 2 axes, like I said, the technical part, but also the functional part. I will go a bit faster with the animation, goes better that way. So basically, you will use a platform, a solution like Actito, for example, to send your emails. So you use a platform. Then what do? We have servers allowing to send huge volumes of email, which is more difficult that we think, but basically Actito is able to provide millions of hundreds of IPs sending to servers. Those servers are between us as a vendor and the mailbox of your client. That is really the middle part that you see over here. Once those servers get your message through us, of course, they will send it to the different ISPs. ISPs stand for email service provider. The most known are probably Gmail, Hotmail, and Yahoo. And of course, in the B2B, then we will work more on Outlook, for example. So once those servers drop it to the different ISPs, that means that those servers receive your message, then they need to provide it to the subscriber, to Jonathan, for example. So you see that there's really 1-step, 2-step, 3-step relation. Okay, if we talk, I hate animation, sorry, so I will skip those. They are there. If I take the technical aspect, That is really where, and I will not talk about Actito, but you need to challenge your providers with that, because it is really not something you can do, but that your partner need to be able to provide you the necessary expertise behind it. If I take my example, we have just Anne-Claire, for example, Mathieu, but also Francois and Thomas, which was only focusing on that, the technical aspect. What is the technical aspect of deliverability? Again, you as a brand use a platform, you send your campaigns, it goes to some server, and then those servers need to deliver your messages to the different ISPs. If you have a broken relation there is potentially a technical impact, a technical problem. Those kind of impacts can be from a wide range, going from blacklisted IPs or whatever you can imagine around the technical aspect, signature of emails, and we will jump in. So that's a first level where it can break, and it can also break after the ESP, providing, for example, you're going to Gmail's server and then you need to provide it to Jonathan at Gmail, and there is also an issue. My email address doesn't exist. I've activated some spam filter or whatever, full mailbox, which is important to understand in the technical aspect. You don't have really the hand on that. It is really the technology using your partner that need to help you around those topics. But the good thing, we and Anne-Claire and all the team behind her, they know that they have always those auto response from the server. So when I go back, if something breaks here, we can basically receive this information back to us. Those are what we call feedback loops. Those are kind of bounds, and they can basically analyze those to correct the issues that's what behind it. This is really why you want to have expert people in the organization you're working with or the tools that you're using, because they can understand that's kind of Chinese for me if I read it, but they can really translate that to tactical answers to solve those issues. So you get always those or autoresponder getting back. My slide is not moving up. Okay, second part then, we had the technical. Now we will talk about the functional. The functional is really something that you marketeers should focus the most on. Why? That is really your part of the business. What I mean by, functional problem. Sorry, I'm just lost with all those things. The functional is really the relation between you and the subscriber. What do I mean by that? That is really where you as a brand have to provide value to your subscriber. If they don't open your email, that means that there is no value for them in there. If they never click in it, no value again, no relation. Basically, we talk a lot about the relation between brands and consumers. That is really where marketeers need to make the difference. What I mean by that is you should think at welcome programs. You should think at engagement. If somebody don't open your email since 3 months, probably send them something different. Ask them maybe why. You really need to be in that game, because all those ISPs, ESPs, email service providers, are really looking at how the database is reacting to your messages. Imagine a Gmail, a Hotmail, a Yahoo provide free email addresses with loads of gigabytes to host and to store all those messages. If the storing is just for the God's sake of storing, it's annoying then, because their user don't have value. If they don't, your user don't have value, why should they provide extra gigabytes to store those? So that is really where you need to understand the reaction of your consumer and providing that value, that conversation. Otherwise, your email will be stuck not at Gmail, but from Gmail to Jonathan. That is really the second aspect of it. Of course, the ISP will inform you also about, will never inform you about those functional problems. Why? If they did that, all the guys that are trying to sell blue pills and, you know, all those spam emails would know also how to act on that. So they keep that really as a black box. And that is why, again, that you need that expertise level coming from your partners, because they have connections with those different email service provider, and they can ask what happened wrong, what was wrong about maybe the message, was the envelope of your message wrong, too much images, too much strange words in it, whatever you can imagine, phishing, for example, you know, trying to steal the brand power by using an extra letter, Google with 3 O's, for example, to try to have that reach. If they tell you that directly to everybody, everybody would know how to act on it. So we really try to switch that a bit, and you need to have, again, those partners, and I think you don't look at vendors but more at partners that will have those connections with the ISPs, providing you then the information to optimize it. So if we take it on the functional deliverability, you have positive and negative signs. This is really something you can apply to every kind of tools you're using, just to have that top of mind. Email opening is one of the best signs that you can have. Why? Imagine that you go into a store, that you take a product A or B, and that somebody is coming talking to you. That is the first sign. It's like the opening of an email. It's the opening of the conversation that you're starting. So really positive sign for the user, for the brand, and for the ESP. A very good thing that's less and less people are doing today is adding the address to the address book. I'm nearly 10 years now in email marketing, and I do remember that on top of the header of the email, a lot of brands said, for example, could you add newsletter at mybrand.be or .com to your address book? When you do that on a webmail, like the 3 ones I'm always mentioning, Yahoo, Hotmail, and the other ones, this is really providing a positive sign to those ESPs. You tell basically Gmail, I really want to receive those messages. And I think it's really important to think back at those basics, because we most of the time don't think about those things anymore. You will buy a technology and you start from the point that the technology will solve everything, but you as a marketeer own that relation with your consumer. So it's very important to think at those little tips and tricks that are maybe all, but that have still a very positive impact. The email is saved to a folder, and that is also a good thing. We'll say don't build rules, by saying, for example, if you receive an email from Actito, directly push it to the folder, because the issue of doing that would be that you won't read it. So the first thing is read it, but if there is value in that message, build a folder, drag and drop it in there. Very handy to have as well. The email is saved in the spam box, drag it out. Most of the time when you're interacting for the first time, like with a welcome program, you should basically guide your user about what could happen. A lot of customers are, for example, asking us how not to land in the promotion tab of Gmail. Next to you could try to hack it a bit, but I would really not tell you to do that, for the simple reason that if they understand that you're trying to play it not within the rules, they will really negatively impact your deliverability. But telling to your user that they can drag and drop out of the promotion tab and drag it into the inbox or click on the star in a Gmail is, again, a very positive sign. Then something extra on that, we talk a lot about in the first session about what we could put in front of the ads, like a person, constant from Jonathan@actito.com or email marketing.actito.com, for example. By allowing your user to reply, you show also that you do care about those replies. And as a brand, you really stand out because you're building the relation, you're building the conversation. And that is all the game today to get out of the mass. If you take your Gmail or any kind of emails you have huge volumes around it. So how can you stand out? By allowing your subscribers, your reader, your customer, your prospect, whatever, to really communicate with you in a full way. Negative signs of course, things like deleting directly the message. The ESP know that, he notices it. If everybody is doing that, impact on deliverability. People click on the spam button. That is really the worst that can happen. And some marketeers will say, I don't care. That is the problem of the solution I'm buying or renting. But don't think that way. I think spam has a bigger impact than what you think. Let's say, for example, Jonathan is clicking a spam for a specific message from brand A. All the other ones will have an impact, because if me and 2 or 3 others, and you don't need more than that, even on a list of 100,000 people, you have a very big risk that all your message will end in the spam. That means impact on your opening, on your click, on your conversion. You're losing really the business. So spam is really something you don't want to and in that kind of folder. And of course, phishing, but that is more trying to steal basically information out of the people, a bit more crazy. And again, there is some technical aspect that you can put in place around that. So how to optimize it? I think that is really the important part. I really hate those animation, whatever. So you as a brand have a relation with a subscriber. Until there, it's normal. Take Nike is talking to Jonathan. That's really the first brand that happened. How do you communicate? In this case, we're talking about an email, again, a platform with servers, and you have a level of relation over there. So if we take it back to what we said, this is really you and the brand, and this is the technical aspect. That's why you're not just looking for technology, but for a partner with that technology. IDs, of course, to optimize the relation. I think I was already providing quite a lot around it. Ensure that the subscriber is interested in your content. So we had a webinar also about the consent and the GDPR. That's the first thing you need to think about it. Also think at building that first relation. When people provide their email address, you need to understand that they give you basically their digital ID. You cannot do something on the internet today without an email address. Even the Generation Z and millennials and everything you're thinking that are using a lot social media, WhatsApp, whatever, to build those accounts, they needed an email address. I'm not saying they're reading their email on a daily basis, but the email is really the digital ID of the people. So as soon as you collect that, you need to start building that strong relation with them, explaining them the value that you do, what you will provide them, how much you will provide them, and really think about that journey that you're starting with them and try to share that into your content. And also maintain that relation. Like I said, I think there is not enough marketeers today thinking about what happened after the attract phase. So we're spending a lot of budget to acquire a new email address. We will send one or two push promotion or products, and then we just stop communicating and maintaining the relation. Think at that PS. I would love to subscribe to a newsletter, even an information one today, receiving a great welcome, explaining me how to drag and drop from promotion to inbox, how to add the address to my contact list, for example. That would be the first step. Then I would receive that first newsletter. After that first newsletter, if I open and I click, it would be lovely to receive something like an NPS. Tell us what you think about our content. What could have we do different, better? Like, I'm always asking for that feedback, and it's lovely because we're starting getting those. I think this is again what you should do. Build that strong relation between you and your subscribers. Sample email for inactive email, for example. Nous avons du nouveau, mais that's a French one. I'm used a lot. You didn't open since 3 months. Is there something wrong, for example? That could be one way. Tell us what we do wrong. You really try to get, again, that people thinking at you and sharing why is not doing stuff. Those kind of triggers are really easy to implement in any kind of email marketing solution or marketing automation. Think about those little journeys so that you can even erase those if there is no value for them anymore. You can say, I will delete you out of my database if there is no value for you. And that's a very good way of handling your list again. Be aware of spam traps. Spam traps is something as well as email marketing, so 1975 again. And spam traps is something that ISPs are using to understand how you collect data. Why? I know that, for example, before you could cold call people. What does I mean by that? You can try to have email address from a company. You can test, for example, Jonathan at Actito, Alain at Actito, Benoit at Actito, and you hope that one of those email really exists, and they built email lists with that, really by trying to generate those one and understand who it was. Those people that found that out were selling those lists to brands because they had a lot of Gmail, Hotmail consumers behind it, so they sell it. That is really the first step. That's the poorest quality that you can find. And how do email service providers protect themselves from those kind of tactics? Was by using old email address. For example, I had a Hotmail address nearly 15 years ago. I never used it probably since 5 years, and they deactivate my account. At least that's what they told me. But they use those email to know if I'm still in those lists that were sold by guys trying to go in a more sneaky way in it. So those are spam traps. Those are not really person anymore, but ESPs use them to understand if you as a brand did some buying of databases or third-party acquisitions. All those kind of a bit, I would call it a bit like a hack. It's a negative way of building because you didn't provide any value for those guys. You just buy your customer. And I don't think we buy customer, we provide value to customer, and then we build trust, and then we go in that relation. So you see, this is really showing the quality of the database from the pure acquisition buying, from offline collection. The problem with the offline is most of the time that you will need to translate the paper to a digital form, and that at that time you won't be able to read if it was an A or an E or an O or whatever kind of letters, and then you're making some wrong input in the digital form, impacting, of course, the quality of that email list. But still, that is a very good way of doing. Paper is something we see like clients with Lunch Garden. It really worked better. Lunch Garden, for those that don't know, is like a restaurant chain, and people don't fill in a digital form. They prefer to fill in a paper form and drop it into the box when they're leaving. And we have to translate those to online form. Of course, the online has a lot of extra value because you can check that an email address is well written. What I mean by that, no space, no special characters, that you have an ad, that you have a .com or a dot in it at least. So that is, of course, the best way to collect data is the online forms, because you can have all those checks behind it. How do you optimize your relation with the different email service provider? That is internet service provider. The internet also provides ESPs. Gmail is not a ASP, but a ESP. So the technical, remember 3 things. And if you build a RFP, request for proposal, you should include those in. Have you expertise in implementing SPF, DKIM, and DMARC? If they say so, it's good, because that means that they know how to validate the technical aspect of email marketing. This is really important. Next to that, you will have a look at the ISPs rules. For example, I can tell you that in Belgium, a Belgacom or a Telenet requires to have several IPs. So that is really what we use to send the email. You need several, but you may not go above a certain volume by IP by time. Those are all rules that you try to challenge your provider that provides you the technology for sending the email, that they really understand what they are talking about and how to implement it. And of course, then you will start managing that relationship, and that's what our people are doing for you. That is part of the service we include at Actito. In summary, you need to think really at 2 aspects. You have the platform you're using, going for the technical aspects, and it goes about really the DKIM, the SPF, the volumes you're sending, all the aspects around the technical, really how is the engine working. We will advise you about your IPs quality, the impact of hard bounds, and all those mechanical ways is part of what the vendor should provide you. And then there is your responsibility, and that is really important. It's you as a marketeer that own the relation with your subscriber. So the content, the quality of the database, the journeys you're building in the sense of people very active versus low activity versus big clickers and small clickers. This is really your role to maintain that relation on the highest level possible, because this is probably what is making you a champion or a loser. I was talking also about resolving the impact when we have a problem. What are the signals you can have a look at, and that worked for every provider again. Hard bouncing, spam, and bounce rates. Those are the 3 really key figures or elements you should look at. If you have more than 1% hard bounce, that means that your list isn't clean. So you have to clean up your list. If you have more than 1% of the people clicking spam, really give a call to your partner, because that means that, again, like I said, the people that want to receive it probably won't receive it. And that is something you really want to avoid. And then you get the bounce. The bounce or information like the mailbox is full, I'm out of office, and all those feedback loops coming to you. If it goes above 5%, that really means that there is something wrong again around your list. Can be that the email doesn't exist, or that the people provide new email and that you need to update your database. So 5%. If you have that in mind, then you have already a good view on the signals you should listen to. Of course, you have also the functional deliverability issues, and that will be, for example, a percentage of useful clicks beside the acquisition. What I mean by that, useful clicks, there are those kind of things when you ask, for example, for a double opt-in, you know that you need those clicks. Those are the useful ones. Have a look at them. You see that, for example, your opening rate went from 35 to 15%. Same list as the week before, always a good value to provide, but there is a drop. That means that there's something happening over there, and you need to understand what is happening, of course. And next to the open, you get also the clicks on that one, and you have to really to understand what is happening. It's asking yourself a lot of questions by using those KPIs, because I think those are KPIs. Okay, how do you respond if you have that? You first try to identify what is the problem. For example, I can tell you if you use Viagra in your sender, you will have an issue. Viagra is the blue pills, you know, those are really the business of the spammers. Or an email telling you that you had an uncle in Africa who has a gold mine. Those are really the, if you use those kind of words, and that is more on the wording, you can identify the problem. As soon as you're able to identify, because your partner provides you enough information, you need to correct the problem for now and in the future. What I mean by that, for example, if you are a big retailer, you need to have a well-sized infrastructure for you, because you need to send your email quite fast, but you may not push too hard through one IP to ESP. No, for example, one IP address can send thousands of email, but if the ESP says it's only 100 by IP, you need to have that infrastructure right. As soon as we know that, or that you know that, we can, or your partner should basically provide a solution, but for the long run. Patching, quick hacks with deliverability never works. It's really a day-to-day job, and it's a journey where you're going with your partner in there. If you correct the problem that there are still some issues, you call your partner, the technology you're using, because they can have some information coming directly from the ESPs, from those email service provider. And as soon as they have that, they will correct it for the long run, of course, and then you can build that relation again. Try to re-establish a relationship. That is really when you broke it really on a severe way, that you're really in the red area. Then you really need to rebuild that trust. It takes time. That is also something that you marketers need to understand. There is no magic formula in deliverability. It's really a long-lasting job. It's an investment that you're doing. Do's and don'ts, sender authentication. That was, again, the technical part. Think at those welcome. I'm still quite afraid when I see that most of the brands still don't use welcome programs. I'm even not talking about the double opt-in, because in Belgium, for example, it's not a mandatory stuff. I think it's only for Germany and Europe. But having that digital ID allows you, of course, to communicate. Just do it, not the day after. We can have a long discussion about the positive impact of building that relation from day one. Don't try to hide unsubscribe links. As people don't understand the value of, don't have any value from your message anymore, they need to find a way to get out. And that is really the unsubscribe. You can work on a journey around that as well to avoid unsubscribe, but never try to have a white unsubscribe on a white background. It really have a huge negative impact on your deliverability. Respect also the engagement you took with them. If you said, I'm only sending you 1 email a week, don't start to send 3 emails a week, or try to collect that information that it would have value for them, and that is what they are looking for. So don't try to play again in a not positive way to your customer. And then really handle your inactives. The technology can take a part of that. At the Tactito, for example, we have some kind of ordering when sending and using specific IPs, and that is, again, what you expect your partner to do, but you have also a role out of marketing to do that. The negative and the don'ts is, of course, don't buy databases. Those are most of the time very old. You pay very lot for no quality. Think about how you could collect them, maybe through your ambassadors is a better way of doing. Merging distinct profiles, that's really a merge of database. It's not a good way of doing. Again, reuse content. I'm always saying a reminder is always a good thing in email, because people, you need to be top of the mailbox, and so if 30% open and that you just do a resend, you will have probably 10% extra, which is then at the end 55% opening. Of course, you need to say those that open, don't send them back to them, but those that didn't open, you will be top of it. But try to adjust a little bit your content, you know, by you missed that one and that was the value in it. Changing the subject can be a good way as well. Suspicious content, I think I used it a lot, of course. And if you have signs like spam, like bounce, don't try to not see those. If you see them, act on them. That would be probably a good stuff too. Maybe very quickly, because I see that I'm out of time, how we do it at Actito. For example, we spend a lot of time when we get a new client, and we had a couple this month. A lady like Anne-Claire will do a presentation, a bit like I'm doing, but in a much more specific way for that specific client. They will have to fill a form also about the volumes, how they were acting in the last months, and so that we really understand how they work. And that is really something we do before starting working with them. Then we will do the technical implementation with the DKIM, the SPF, and everything. And then depending of the kind of setup we need to provide, we will go for IP warming. What is an IP warming? We have an infrastructure, and we try to build that relation between you and the different servers. That will be the IP warming up process that can go very fast. It's a couple of shoots to get you up and running on the gold IP, if I can say it that way. Then we do also a workshop where we will see the result from the first campaign and trying to feed our clients with best practices, but ideas and recommendation. For example, those are the kind of filter that we have before the return message and the user active. I see that I'm out of scope, so think about the available information that you have in any technology, and it is not linked to Actito. I think that all email service providers have those kind of information. Last time open, last time click, if people put you on a blacklist, the status of an email, the communication history. Don't think in volume, but rather in time, because I know that a lot of our customers are saying if he didn't open the five last emails, it's more interesting to say that didn't open in 30 days, because I don't know, for any kind of reason you increase your volume of emails, then you will think that those people are not active, but it's just because you went from 2 to 5 emails, then you will have some negative impact as well. So work more on time than on volumes. And of course, have a look at your reports. Those are kind of reporting that or solution provide, and you see the different emails, how they evolve through time. This is very important to work on. You can have advanced reporting, of course, and that's stuff we do, for example, with our partners from ReturnPad. We have some first level in the tool as well. And of course, the notification, you need to work on them and really to act on those. Those are more optional slides. I don't know if you have questions. I see, I'll have a look. Those are no questions, just telling me that everything was working fine, which is always a good thing. Okay, I'm 5 minutes late, so which is not too bad, I guess. I hope you liked that third session. All the records are available from session 1 and 2 as well. We will update the third one. You have my email address. Feedback is a gift. I hope you like it, that there was a good balance between the technology and also the support and the expertise we have. What would be the next step you would like us to share with you? Should we get a bigger format, having more partners in it? Just shoot around. We're really looking at those feedback, because we want to also perform better by learning out of what we can provide you. So thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye-bye.